Okay, I had to put my glasses on because they help me see so much better. I gotta get new eyeglasses. I really want to get new eyeglasses. I will at some point in my life. But anyways, so this is gonna be the first part of my story of this retell. Also, before I begin, I cannot whisper this entire thing. I am sorry. So, some of it is going to be whispered videos, and the other ones of this is going to be like soft spoken because this is so long, my voice will die if I keep whispering. Okay, also, I'm done. I'm going to say the company's name in this because I want everyone to be aware. Are you guys ready? Are you guys ready to understand what I've been through? You ready for this journey? Okay. I got my document WordPad open so I can read everything I wrote for you, okay? Alright. Recovering from years of emotional, mental, and physical abuse is one of the hardest steps in life I've ever had to take. More so when your abusers were people you thought you could trust. It makes the recovery process that much harder, and in the end, it leaves an unforgettable scar that will be with you for the rest of your life, especially in situations like mine, when after all this time has gone by, you still get stalked on social media by your abusers and threatened. The abuse started not long after I began working as a single mother at my local Goodwill, after splitting up with my child's father. My daughter and I were living with my parents. The first few months were normal. I did my job and went home. All was well. However, things took a drastically horrendous turn when I got my brother a job there. For starters, the main manager, who throughout this story I will call Manager JK, who was in her late 30s at the time, dating a guy working at a local pizza shop, had an uncomfortable, weird attraction to my brother, who was in his early 20s. I gotta scroll down. Hold on. Okay. In fact, it was so inappropriate, so much so, that she would give very explicit details about her bedroom life in full-on conversations with my brother on a daily concerning herself and her boyfriend. Yet this was merely the beginning. My family lived together. My parents, myself, my child, and my brother. My brother and I worked the same hours, shift-wise, and neither of us at the time had our driver's license. Manager JK, main manager, began coming to my parents' house to pick up my brother, take him through the McDonald's drive-thru, then proceed to head to work with him, leaving me to run the mile down hills, down to the bus stop in the cold weather just to catch the bus to work. We lived a mile from the bus stop, people. My parents were a witness to this happening many times. They can never understand why, knowing that myself and my brother who lived with our parents, why Manager JK never took me to work along with my brother. And why it was only my brother she would take. My parents found it very rude. I mean, after all, my brother and I worked at the same place, the same shift. So why not take us both? Why only my brother? Manager JK began ordering my brother lunch at work, always reminding him how he didn't have to pay her back. She would order him food from a well-known restaurant and always telling him how he didn't have to repay her. She asked me once if I wanted anything from this restaurant. I only asked her for a $5 kids meal. I didn't eat much back then. She immediately asked how soon I would be able to pay her back the $5. I confronted her about this on how, why does my brother get the option to not have to pay you back? But you're anxious to know how soon I could repay you back the $5. I expressed how I had no problem paying for my own food. I just wanted to know why. She never gave me a solid answer. I was always one to notice. This is leading into another story, okay? Like another part. Okay. I gotta find where I was. Okay. I was always one to notice a person's creepy behavior. So one day, as a cashier, I noticed this behavior from a guy and decided to keep a close eye on him. I caught him grabbing a backpack, stuffing clothes and other items inside of it. He then came up to my register wanting to buy the book bag. After scanning the bag, I then unzipped and began pulling out everything he had stuffed inside, and I asked him, "Would you like to purchase these as well?" He tried telling me that he had no idea how that merchandise got inside the bag. However, when I stated I kept my eye on him the entire time and saw his intentions, the guy bolted out the store and ran off. He knew he was caught. After making sure this guy was no longer around the store, I immediately ran back to the employee break room where everyone was having lunch. Manager JK was, of course, talking to my brother when she noticed me. She asked if I needed anything, which then I proceeded to tell her of my harrowing ordeal on stopping a thief. While I was expecting Employee of the Month, all I got from her was, "Oh, good job." Then she proceeded asking my brother how much he was able to bench press and if he was going to start going to the gym. This was the biggest slap in my face, in my opinion. A friend of mine who also worked there came in on her day off to visit me. She was a witness to this. A slap in the face, as I call it. She was a witness to this. From this point forward, I began getting ignored by most of the employees in management. This is where the abuse really started getting worse. Being overlooked each day. I wasn't used to someone talking to me. I wasn't sure how to act, therefore a rumor surfaced that I was socially awkward. One of the male employees at the time began tormenting me, always coming up to remind me how everyone sees you come in but purposely ignores you because you're not important. In fact, you should feel blessed that I'm even speaking to you. I began feeling targeted as a single mother. I was lonely, sad, and that weakness was preyed upon. This same guy was having issues with his baby mama at the time, and every time they'd break up, he would confess his true feelings for me. I was open for a possible relationship until I realized his cycle, that he would get back with his baby mama a few days later and act like I didn't exist. As a side note, every time he would do this, I had no idea that he got back with his baby mama those few times. And when I would be like, "Oh, hi," he would always tell me, "I have nothing to do with you. Get away from me. We're never gonna have a chance with each other. Quit following me." And I was always like, "You're the one that," okay. Like, it was horrible. I'm trying not to breathe in a mic. So I no longer played into it. I wasn't going to be anybody's side chick, and I wasn't going to be played with like that. All of these things were weighing on me every day, like emotionally. wasn't happy to go to work anymore, but regardless, I still went because at the end of the day, I had a child to take care of. One night, myself, my brother, and manager, JK was the main manager, don't forget that, okay? One night, myself, my brother, and manager JK were all in the back working. Well, us three were in the back, but I was the one working, while my brother and manager JK stood a few feet from me gossiping. I had one headphone out and one headphone in, so I could hear it all. Like, I was able to hear if somebody called me or not. It was then when manager JK began looking over at me to make sure I wasn't paying attention to her and my brother's upcoming conversations. I will never forget what she told my brother that night. She said, "That guy that your sister has a crush on. Yeah, what makes her think she even has a chance with him? She's not pretty. I mean, come on. She works here at Goodwill after all, with the rest of us." I almost cried. Their conversation went on for around 20 minutes. That was when I couldn't take it anymore. And exploded. I exploded. I walked over and confronted them. Manager JK ordered me to stand down or I would be written up. So I told her, I will not stand down. In fact, I will stand up for myself. For starters, that is very unprofessional on your end as a manager to talk trash about your employees in front of your employees. If you want to do that garbage, do it in your own damn office. I heard everything you were saying because I don't have both headphones in. You are absolutely out of line and disgusting. You are a bitch for that. I will not stay back here and hear these horrible conversations. I'm going up to the register to assist the cashier. And that is what I did. The cashier asked if I was okay, but at this point, I was just too in shock of what had just transpired. From this point forward, I continued getting hard objects thrown at me by the male employees. These hard items left bruises on me. When I told them to stop it, they would mock me and laugh. Every day for the next 4.5 years, the following few things are what I was put through. Number 1, I was physically abused by some male employees, by them tossing hard objects on my body, causing bruises. Management knew about this, but nothing was ever done, nor was it ever taken seriously. So you guys, hard objects like, or like hard objects, pointy objects, and they would throw it at me and it would cause bruises on my breast, my arms, my hips. Sometimes it would cut me, and every time I would tell them to stop it, they would laugh at me, just, tell me, grow up, bitch, it didn't hurt, but I'm over here with bruises. I told management about it, and management laughed it off like, oh, boys will be boys. These guys were grown men, okay? 2, emotionally abused. Every day I was reminded by management and some of the employees there that I was insignificant, unimportant, and very ugly. Number 3, I was unappreciated. Every day I was overlooked, never listened to. No matter how hard I worked, I was never noticed. No one ever spoke to me. They would just talk amongst themselves. I was a ghost. I was an outcast. Even though the abuse was this bad and kept getting worse, I tried every day to push through it. I was taking anxiety medications before each shift. My stomach actually knotted the second I punched in. Walmart and buy bags of chocolate candy like peppermint patties or Hershey bars and bring them into work. I would dress up as Freddy Krueger and hand out the candy to children and adults. It was fun and amazing for me. So many people would swarm in just to see me cosplaying for Halloween. In 2022, I did the same thing, only this time I was dressed as a moon witch. I even wore black go-go boots. Every year for Christmas, I'd buy the chocolate candy, go to work dressed as a giddy elf, and hand out the candy to the children and elderlies. I lost count of how many times I've been told how I made a person feel good and alive, how I made their depression subside, and almost every time when I got paid, I went shopping for scented garbage bags, Pine Sol, Mr. Clean, air freshener, hand sanitizer, the list goes on. I bought it all for Goodwill, for up at our registers. More so when COVID was really out of control and it was like mandatory to wear masks. And I did this to keep things sanitized and smelling clean and fresh. It made customers feel good. I've had at least 5 customers tell me that no other Goodwill was this clean and this fresh. For a while there, we as cashiers had a change shortage and we were super stressed out due to this and the hard to deal with customers. A lot of customers kept telling us that we were lying about having a change shortage. They would accuse us of lying, of being short on change, so that was really difficult. So I would bring in $40 to $50 worth of change to my cashiers in exchange for cash, and this is how we survived until our change order came in. One of my cashiers was transgender, and for quite a number of years, an old woman claiming to be a Christian or a Catholic or some God-fearing woman would come in not necessarily to shop but to harass this particular cashier. She would tell him how he was going to hell, that there was no chance for him. Then she would proceed to go around the store and tell every customer about it. Management, including the main manager, J.K., was well aware of this for years but never done anything about it. One day, my shift started, and this cashier's shift was over, and they were waiting for their ride to pick them up when this woman came in. My cashier and I were talking to each other when this woman decided to harass this cashier through me. I don't deal with that. I don't deal with bullying or any form of harassment whatsoever. I gotta find where I was at. Okay. She kept asking me, "Are you cashing her out?" To which I responded, "No, I'm not cashing him out. In fact, he is waiting for his ride." This went on for 5 minutes, back and forth. I decided to go alert the main manager, JK, and proceeded to tell her that this has been going on for years and it needs to stop. The harassing, the bullying. She asked if this lady called him a bitch or like any other name. Because if not, I can't do anything about it, she said. So I looked at her and I said, "Of course you won't." At this point, the transgender cashier, decided to wait in the break room for his ride to arrive. Now, me being a manager at another retail establishment while being a cashier at Goodwill as well, the manager slash manager. Just remember who you have to deal with. I don't put up with any of that. Not at my store. Do you understand me? I embarrassed her so badly, she called me a few choice words and left the store. I got cheered on by all those customers in line, and they thanked me for doing something to stop this abuse. They also stated that when I initially went back to get the main manager, Manager JK, to come out and do something about the situation, that lady was going around telling the customers how the transgender cashier was going to hell. I explained to them that I was a manager at another retail location and the manager in me just came out. And since then, that woman who harassed, I didn't see or hear from her since. Not long after this incident, however, became the worst life-shattering event in my entire life. It changed me forever. For starters, for us cashiers, alright, so you guys, before I continue with this might get a little bit confusing, so try to hang in there, okay? For starters, for us cashiers, it was mandatory for us to get 5 to 7 emails per shift from our customers. 1 email per customer. Upon receiving these emails, we immediately had to add these emails into our register before cashing out the customer themselves. To this day, I still remember the little box icon that would pop up after adding in an email. It would say, customer info saved. Then, to my knowledge, those emails would get sent back to the office computers for management to keep tabs on how many emails the cashier got during their shift. With me getting anywhere between 5 to 7 emails per shift, constantly adding these emails into my register before cashing out my customers, in 1 week's time, I would have acquired around 30 plus emails. I was proud of myself. I had no problem in reaching my goal, as I was already used to putting myself out there. After doing this routine for weeks, that is when I found out that only 2 of us cashiers out of 7 were actually getting emails from actual customers. Let me scroll this down here. In fact, one of the team leads, who I'll call Team Lead JN, was going onto the office computers, jumping onto Facebook, finding random people, copying down their email addresses, and handing them out to the 5 other cashiers. You see, we were actually competing against other Goodwills to see which Goodwill he would get the most emails. So I guess cheating is a way to win, right? I mean, JN never got in trouble for doing this. Team lead JN never ever got in trouble for doing this. And the main manager knew about it. In fact, she laughed about it, because team lead JN told the main manager JK about what she was doing, and the main manager thought it was like the funniest thing in the world. It was more so like, who's gonna find out what we're doing, you know? So yeah. So now we have a lot of people who don't shop at Goodwill getting emails of all the Goodwill discounts. Now, near the management office hung a sheet of paper which had all the cashiers' names on it. Of course, the cashiers that were handed all these emails from random Facebook accounts by management. schedule as a cashier, I was pulled aside by another team lead member who I'll call team lead KW. She had stated that the main manager, JK, left her a message to give to me. KW proceeded to tell me the message, which was, for one, Cass may be closing cashier, but she does a horrible job cleaning the sales floor. Every time I come in here in the morning, it's a wreck. Secondly, Cass needs coached. She needs trained on how to get emails from customers because on our office computers, only one email a week is showing from her, and it's unacceptable. Can you guys explain that to me? And secondly, team lead KJ, or not KJ, KW, sorry. She was always the team lead that I was made to close the store with. So she always saw me cleaning the store, leaving it absolutely spotless at the end of my shift. Everything smelled like pine sol and air freshener. All the floors were nice and squeaky. All of the aisles were nicely fixed and gorgeous. But the main manager, when she would come in the next morning, everything would be messed up. Team lead KW didn't understand why the main manager JK was even saying that, because even team lead KW was telling me, she's like, girl, I see how spotless you make the store before you leave at night. So I don't know why the main manager is saying that it's filthy when she comes in the morning, because it's never filthy. Sorry, I'm trying to find out where I was now. Okay. Now, having all of this being told to me, it upset me very much. Being the only closing cashier with multiple customers, I was constantly cleaning up after multiple people, not to mention kids, for 6 hours straight, along with my other cashier duties. No breaks. It didn't matter that I had hypoglycemia. I almost never had time to focus on my blood sugar. There was too much stuff that needed done, and I was the only one there to tackle it. Being closing cashier, every time I tried to have a bag of chips or something so small to regulate my blood sugar, I got scolded. Management knew of my hypoglycemia, and this is what they did to me. And as far as one email a week showing on their office computers, that was a bunch of baloney. Okay, I thought I heard a stink bug. I was gonna scream, sorry. I took my job seriously. I always did my job to the best of my abilities. I always worked harder than what I was paid for. So again, yes, I was very upset. And for the first time in 4.5 years, I stood my ground. I told team lead KW that as far as the getting trained goes, I was retaliating because getting trained was definitely not what I needed. That I always got my emails and added them into my register. I was not about to be punished. KW stated that I needed trained by team lead JN. And I'm not gonna lie, I was absolutely not having it. I worked too hard for this to happen to me. I've been doing the same job for years. I did not need trained. At first, team lead KW tried to compromise with me. She told me that she would come up instead of team lead JN and just watch me get emails. Watch me add them into my register, and together we would see how many emails I still upset, I did in fact agree to this, and I went up to cashier. I waited for KW to come up. I wanted to get to the bottom of this. However, team lead JN, her ego kicked in, so she instead came up and told me in front of my customers that I did not have any say-so in who I wanted up there with me. So instead of having KW up at the register with me, it was going to be herself. She waited until I had 4 or 5 customers in line and proceeded to embarrass me. She tried putting me under the spotlight, saying with a smirk, "Alright, Cass, what are you going to do while I'm